Welcome to WinAirvideo and Stellantis Nexstar October update. Today's story begins with the sudden announcement that Stellantis will shift Jeep Compass production from Brampton, Ontario to Illinois, USA as part of a $13 billion American investment. The result? Nearly 3,000 Brampton jobs lost, an outcry from unions, city officials, and the federal government, who reminds Stellantis of its legally binding commitments made in exchange for billions in subsidies. Since the Brampton Plant idled in December 2023 to retool for EV production, most workers were already without stable jobs. Now the Compass move leaves them out in the cold. Unifor and local government officials have called the move disrespectful and disgusting, with effective employees encouraged to seek positions elsewhere in the shrinking auto sector. Some may be absorbed by new shifts in Windsor, but even 1,500 new openings at Windsor Chrysler Assembly Plant won't offset Brampton's 3,000 jobs lost, plus thousands more ripple effect jobs lost in related industries. The Windsor Nexstar Energy Plant, built with $15 billion in incentives, is slated to provide 2,500 direct jobs and a total economic impact of over 5,000 positions when fully operational in 2026. Windsor's third assembly shift is still set to begin soon, and battery manufacturing remains a pillar of Canada's industrial policy. However, the plant's long-term health depends on pervasive market uncertainty due to tariffs, a shrinking EV market, the shifting priorities of Stellantis, and possible repercussions from the Brampton decision. Stellantis promises the Windsor Assembly Plant will receive a new investment and a new third shift, creating 1,500 new jobs as demand for Pacifica and Dodge models grow. Yet union leaders warn that this is only half of previously bargained commitments, and officials fear the company may break further promises if U.S. political pressures ramp up. Who will get the 1,500 jobs the third shift will create? Is Windsor going to absorb the job losses? If Brampton employees are allowed to relocate to Windsor and fill openings at the assembly plant and the Nexstar battery factory? Does this shift of employment benefit or punish Windsorites? Let me know what you think. However, there is more to consider. President Trump's recent round of tariffs adds 10% surcharge on Canadian auto exports, increasing total tariffs up to 25% on vehicles and parts. These duties make Canadian-made cars less competitive and already contributed to deep losses. Ontario alone shed 38,000 jobs in manufacturing in the second quarter of 2025, with auto being hit hardest. Many manufacturers may be forced to relocate or even shutter plants, threatening the future viability of Canada's entire auto sector. As the US and EU retreat from EV incentives and ramp up tariffs, while China surges ahead in EV production, Canada faces critical choices. Experts say the sector must diversify, invest aggressively in next-generation batteries, and carve out hybrid middle path, or risk being squeezed out entirely by market forces and trade policies. There is real fear that more plants will be shuttered if Canadian policy doesn't adapt, putting hundreds of thousands of jobs at risk. Prime Minister Mark Carney's upcoming meeting with China may result in Canada lifting its 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, potentially allowing a flood of cheaper vehicles into the Canadian market. While this could drive consumer costs down and open export opportunities, auto industry leaders warn it could further undermine Canadian manufacturing, reeling from lost U.S. access. If Stellantis closes out Canadian operations after accepting billions in subsidies, Ottawa and Queen's Park may seek legal readiness for broken contracts. The loss would cripple local economies and undermine public trust in grant programs intended to secure jobs and innovation. Politicians warn this would send a fatal signal for future industrial investment in Canada. Over the past decade, Canada's auto sector has lost thousands of positions due to automation, offshoring, and declining vehicle sales, offset only partly by new EV, battery, and engineering jobs. In 2022, direct auto sector employment was 125,000, with 462,000 supported jobs via supply chain and spin-offs. By October 2025, direct employment has declined to approximately 110,000, with supported jobs dropping below 420,000, a net loss of about 15,000 direct positions, and more than 40,000 supply chain and spin-off jobs in just 3 years. The full net impact of Stellantis' pullback and rising tariffs will likely mean a sharper decline, unless Canada pivots quickly to future-focused industries. The Stellantis Brampton controversy highlights a crossroads for Canada's auto sector, underscoring major job loss, economic anxiety, and the urgent need for new direction. With nearly 3,000 Brampton jobs cut and added U.S. tariffs threatening profitability, even Windsor's new investments in EV Gigafactory jobs may not fill the gap. Union leaders and officials warn that despite more jobs announced for Windsor Assembly and Nexstar, these gains don't offset the magnitude of losses or resolve long-term uncertainty. If companies like Stellantis continue shifting production, and Canada doesn't aggressively adapt its policies, the country risks losing more key manufacturing jobs and future opportunities to global competition. While the federal government explores new trade deals and funding to safeguard the sector and open export channels, the balance between protecting Canadian jobs and staying competitive on the world stage has never been more fragile. The bottom line, Canada's auto industry stands at a tipping point. Adaptation and innovation are urgent, or the losses and uncertainty could keep accelerating, impacting communities across the country. Will the Canadian auto industry survive? Only the future will tell. However, current turmoil, uncertainty, and shrinking Canadian market do not paint a bright picture for our near future opportunities. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is Bob Jones, and I will see you in the next video.